stations. It's time for Wallow and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here's your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
As I was walking down the street one day,
welcome in on a glorious Tuesday morning, last day of November. Aloha! The Tigers are going to Hawaii. I think they're going to play Boise. That's my best bet. I hope that's the bet. They could play Wyoming because Boise's 7-5, Wyoming 6-6, just like the Tigers. Now, normally that bowl game does not get the elite. So the elite in the Mountain West, and the tie-in is with the Mountain West. The best team is San Diego State. They're 11-1. You know, they're probably sitting there hoping Cincinnati loses to Houston, and then there's a battle who goes to the New Year's Day Bowl from that. Then you've got Air Force and Fresno. They're both 9-3. I think those records are above the bowl game in Hawaii. And then Nevada is 8-4. Here's the deal. I'm not 100% certain on this. I don't think Hawaii, which normally is the home team for this game, I don't think they're eligible. They're under 500. They played 13 games, though. So they're 6. They got the 6th win, but they're 6-7. So it could end up being Hawaii. I really would love, because, you know, Memphis and Boise, hopefully they're both going to get in the Big 12. Memphis and Boise have a contract to play one another. So let's hope that that is the case, that Memphis and Boise, chapter 1 of what we hope will be many, many chapters. Let's hope that that is the case. I got to tell you, the Hoops team, the Tigers basketball team, dropped from 9 to 19. Style points matter, apparently. This is interesting. Somebody pointed this out on one of the commentaries for, I believe it was the Daily Memphian. Tennessee loses, they moved up 2 spots. Kansas loses, they dropped a couple. Memphis loses, that was a bad loss. I'm not saying it wasn't, but they dropped 10 to 19. And the ironic thing of that is they're just above Iowa State, the team that beat them. How do you put Memphis in front of them when on a neutral they just beat you by 19? Probably should have been dropped to 20. Anyway, that is crazy. That is crazy. But nothing is crazier than one coach saying, I'm never leaving unless the fairy godmother drops a $250 million check.
She did.
Well, it wasn't $250. Who would have ever thought Notre Dame could lose a successful coach and lose it to LSU? However, I will say this, 3 of the last coaches at LSU have won national titles, and 2 aren't even considered good coaches, Les Miles and Ed Orgeron.
You just get all the recruits in Louisiana when you coach there, too. And Brian Kelly said
But you
Notre
still
Dame
got to play in the West.
Exactly. And Brian Kelly said Notre Dame was his dream job. So what is LSU?
Well, it's his dreamier job.
Oh, okay.
It's his richer job. Well, he was getting – most people are guessing because Notre Dame doesn't have to – they're a private school. They don't have to publish what they pay. Most people were saying he was getting somewhere between 6 and 8. This deal that he got is a 10-year, $95 million guarantee. That's the basic setup. So there's more with bonuses and everything else. So that's the least he can make in those 10 years. It's not the $13 million we were hearing about with LSU. I'm looking forward to talking to Ron Higgins on Thursday about all this. But that is guaranteed. You know who I always liked, and then I got sort of tired because he couldn't win the big games, and he's, you know, I guess there was so much pressure on him. He was not really nice, per se. But Jim Harbaugh finally gets his big W. Do you see what Jim Harbaugh has done?
No.
Oh, this is cool. So Jim Harbaugh has taken whatever bonuses he gets And that could be up to $3.5 million. He's already got a $500,000 bonus for winning his division, which, you got to beat Ohio State to do that. If he wins the Big Ten, that's $1 million. So that's $1.5 million. And by doing that, he's assured of being in the playoff. That's another $500,000. So $2 million if he wins over Iowa on Saturday. That money, and there's more built in, like I say, it's up to $3.45 million. So we'll say 3.5. He's donating that money, not taking it. He and his wife made the decision they would give it back to the University of Michigan Athletic Department to give to those that lost money during COVID. So in other words, remember a lot of these athletic departments, and Memphis was the same way, where they cut people 5%, 10%, 25%. So those people lost all that money. He's giving that to anybody that was affected by COVID.
What a great gesture.
I think it is incredible. More along those lines that I think is interesting. Jay Billis had a tweet. He goes, fans get so upset over player opt-outs for like bowl games. We haven't seen an opt-out yet in a playoff, but it's going to happen sooner or later. But they get all upset about that. But how can coaches, and let's be honest, you think Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly made these decisions in the last 2 days? You don't think their agents were discussing all this stuff with them for the last 2 or 3 weeks? And by the way, the agent, it's not our own Jimmy Sexton. This is a new agent that's got both those guys. And it's Trace Armstrong. You remember the Florida? Of course you do. It's Florida. You got to know these guys, Jay Morgan. Trace Armstrong was the very good defensive end of Florida.
I don't remember. I don't know Trace Armstrong.
Oh, yeah. I don't think he had a great NFL career, but he was a really solid defensive lineman in Florida. And he's the agent of both those guys, of Brian Kelly and of Lincoln Riley.
He's making some money. He's making some commission on those deals.
Well, if he's like Jimmy Sexton, he'll place the vacated spots, too, so he gets them going and coming. I have no idea who Notre Dame is going to end up with.
Yeah, it's hard to guess. I mean, the press conference this morning, they
who
seemed like
wouldn't want that job, though?
That's what I agree. Hey, what about Urban Meyer? How about that? I mean, that's got to be some kind of a dream job for him. Ohio State, Notre Dame in the same realm of football,
Luke Fickell. I'm going to throw that name out there. Now, Luke Fickell is from the Columbus, Ohio area. He loves that part of the country. That's where all his family is. So I've heard forever he would never leave Cincinnati except for the Ohio State job. But Notre Dame isn't that far away. It's Midwest. And wow. Your money and your legacy, if you're Notre Dame, wow.
I don't know.
And it's built in for you. If they expand the playoffs, that's actually the best thing. The expansion of the playoffs, if they go to 12, probably guarantees that Notre Dame is going to get in every single year. This is why Notre Dame, Gene Corrigan, or I think it's not, is it Corrigan? Whoever their AD is on that committee.
Oh, to get the schools into the playoff, he's on that committee.
He's on the playoff expansion committee. And people are saying, well, Notre Dame is no longer, would not be considered eligible to be one of the automatic qualifiers because you got to be in a league to do that, right?
Jack Swarbrick.
Okay, Jack Swarbrick. So he's going, wait a second. Right now, it's really hard for us to get in because we're not in a league. We got to run the table. We can do that because, look, how many really hard games does Notre Dame play? Seriously.
They played Cincinnati this year.
And got beat.
At
home. So now you open it up to 8 more spots, and originally 6 of them are at large. Notre Dame's going to – why would they join a league then? Why would they? They're going to get in almost every year. It's a much easier job than LSU's. I don't, LSU's a hard job. I know you get all those athletes, but you got to play Alabama and Auburn and the Mississippi schools every year, and Arkansas.
It sounds like you might be hinting at, Dave, that a coach from the Southeastern Conference might be enticed if they have to play the Alabamas and the LSUs of the world every year. They might be enticed to go up there to Notre Dame and beat up on some ACC schools every year and go to the playoff year after year. Well, I don't know who it would be, but, you think the SEC's the king, but maybe Notre Dame is king.
I'll tell you, if I were Nick Saban, I'd go there. I'd be the first one ever to win at three different schools. Because he'd win at Notre Dame. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Dan Mullen's available. Maybe Notre Dame wants to reach out to him.
Yeah, I think Luke Fickell, though, is really a good coach, and he sort of fits that mold. He knows cold weather. I've seen his name out there. I have no idea. And they'll have plenty of opportunity to find what they think is their best fit and who's going to turn down Notre Dame. I mean, Brian Kelly, that's just – I'm shocked. I really am shocked that he did that. And again, there's a lot of articles being written about this guy. He says last week it's his dream job. He's never leaving unless a guy pays $250. Well, they didn't pay $250. He didn't tell his players. He texted them last night for a meeting
7
this
a.m.
morning. He's still the same guy that made those kids go up on the tower and then showed little remorse until he had so much bad public reaction about it. Brian Kelly is not high on my list, to be honest with you. But and now he's going to go into a place where I just think it's a great school, it's a great situation, but it's a much harder to win, make playoff situation, I think, than Notre Dame. That is my sense of all of it. Speaking of money, how about Max Scherzer? What a deal he gets! 3 years, $130 million. That's $43.3 million per year.
Mets looking pretty good. The two best pitchers in today's baseball pitching on the same team one day after another.
Let me just remind you, they're all in. I get it. So are the Los Angeles Rams with their acquisitions. And since they brought in these guys, they've not won a game.
Mets are still going to lose. You're right. Mets are going to Met. They're the Mets. They can get the best players in the world. They're still the Mets.
Well, they beat my Cubs in '69.
Yeah, that's true.
And a long time ago.
I wasn't alive for that.
And today, Tiger Woods spoke. So yesterday, he did an exclusive with Golf Digest, and he was pretty eloquent. He's pretty funny. This morning, one of the things he was talking about was he knew he had a big house, but he never realized how big it was until he had to go up and down with crutches. He said he did build his triceps up pretty good, but maybe that house was too big with crutches. But yesterday he intimated that getting back on the tour full-time is never going to happen. Well, for one thing is age. He's up there in age. And then, two, this was a very debilitating injury that he had. He mentioned Ben Hogan, and the way Hogan did it was basically Ben Hogan played 1 or 2 tournaments in the majors, and that was it. And that was what he was hinting at that he would do, that he would probably end up picking and choosing. And, I got from that, okay, he's going to play in the 4 majors, and then he's going to pick, his tournament, because he got one in D.C., and then maybe 1 or 2 others and play, 7-8 times a year, and that'll be it. And, maybe he'll go crazy and get hot one time and win. I'm thinking that way. Well, today, he talked a little bit more about it, and maybe the ambitions that we all had for him were just a little bit too high. Because in this sound that you're about to hear, he doesn't sound quite as promising, but he's very accepting.
And is it too early to have a target tournament to zero in on, like the PNC or Augusta or the Open?
I'll put you this way. As far as playing at the tour level, I don't know when that's going to happen. Now, I'll play around here and there, a little hit and giggle. I can do something like that. I certainly like playing from, the USGA suggests, play forward. I really like that idea now. I don't like the tees on back, so I like play it forward. Come on, let's move it up. To see some of my shots fall out of the sky a lot shorter than they used to is a little eye-opening. But at least I'm able to do it again. That's something that for a while there it didn't look like I was going to. I'm able to participate in the sport of golf. Now, to what level, I do not know that. And I'll keep you abreast of all of you guys abreast as progress continues to go on, whether or not I'll be out here and at what level and when.
So, man, he sounds so at peace with it, doesn't he?
He does.
He sounds accepting. He sounded happy. He was smiling the whole time. I think this. If you go back and read the Golf Digest interview, there were moments in his recovery that he thought he was going to lose his leg. So that would have meant no more golf and no more other sports that, he likes to partake in. And I know he wants to hang with his kids and be able to play golf with them or, maybe go out and kick the soccer ball with his daughter. She's supposed to be a good soccer player and all this other good stuff. And there were moments in that hospital that he thought that leg was going to have to be amputated. And so when you go from that extreme to come back, and you saw the video of him hitting the ball, he still hits it pretty darn well. And he is going to try, I guess, on occasions, depending on how complete the recovery is, to, as he said, do the hit and giggle stuff and maybe play in a major or two. He can go back to Augusta and play. He's got eligibility in that forever. So maybe he will just try that, and we will enjoy whatever you get from him. But he can at least walk, and he can at least play with his kids. And, there's nothing that is ever going to change his legacy. That is cemented. It's either he or Jack, however you feel about it, are the greatest who ever played the game. And that's not going away, no matter what happens. He's certainly got enough money. He's worth over $1 billion. He's got the ability to still make money because he can do endorsements, or he can do broadcasting, he can do whatever he wants to. Or he can do nothing. He can sit in his yacht and do nothing because he can afford all of that. So I'm happy that he's at peace with all of that. We should point out, since we just talked about Augusta, Lee Elder passed away. He's the first African-American ever allowed to play at Augusta National. He passed away at the age of 87. Remember, he had been given the honor this past year of, with Jack and with Gary Player, of sort of replacing Arnold Palmer, who had passed away, of being one of those honorary tee-off guys at Augusta National. So he at least got that 1 year and a lot of acclaim, and I'm glad he got a last hurrah. And 87 years is a good life.
Absolutely.
I'll sign up for that. I really want 88. I don't know why, but that's pretty good. But Lee Elder, what a gentleman, and he passed away. We're going to talk NFL with Jeff Moore coming up in just a little bit. As we always do, we put a bow on, week 12.
Week 12, yeah. There you go. Getting up there.
Well, you got 17 weeks now. Really,
18, yeah.
Because of the bye weeks, right. So we got a lot there. And then Mike DeCourcy is going to join us last segment at 10:42. I hadn't written this down, but I was listening, and I always love the Cody Toppert segment that Greg and Eli do right before I come on here. Actually, it's at 9:30 on Tuesdays. And, Cody was talking about maybe John Camden is going to get a redshirt year. But wait, they played him. They played him like a minute and a half in one game of a blowout. And he's got this issue with the bottom of his foot. It's not plantar fasciitis. I asked him. But the NCAA allows football players to play 4 games, which is basically a third of the season, right?
Games.
4 games. They if they stop them there, they get a redshirt year. One time, they get a redshirt year. You play 1 second of college basketball now, you lose your redshirt year. Why is that? We're going to ask Mike DeCourcy that question. We'll talk a little bit about the drop. As far as the Tigers are concerned, and Cody said it right. I mean, you can't have 20 turnovers and win games. So right now, Memphis will turn the ball over on 25%. I think it's actually 24.9 or it's 25.9. I can't remember which one it is. One of those two. Basically, 1 out of every 4 possessions that Memphis has doesn't even end up in a shot. It ends up in a turnover. 25% of the time you have the ball, you don't even get a shot. How are you going to win games against good teams?
You're not. Not if you turn the ball over like that. Good teams, certainly Final Four teams don't do that. That's actually the number you just gave, Dave, is 4th worst in the NCAA.
Well, I'm shocked it isn't worst. Hi, he said this. Cody said this on their show. It blew me away. The Tigers had over 20 turnovers. What did he say? 26 turnovers.
That's what it was
against St. Louis. 26 turnovers and won the game by 20. That's impossible. Now, part of it is how many blocks did Memphis have? So that kind of equalized.
Duren bails them out of a lot of that kind of stuff.
I am telling you, you've got to stop that. You've got to have more movement. He was discussing that today. They've got to figure out their rotation. And the point guard thing, I love Alo. I know he works his tail off, and I'm not saying that Alo shouldn't play at all. But I think if we are being honest about it, if you go back and look at his numbers, they've actually gotten worse this year. Now, it's still very early in the year, but he's turned the ball over more times now than he's ever turned it over on a per-game basis. It's a negative ratio. The Tigers had their best amount of success in the Penny Hardaway era last year down the stretch when they won the NIT, but they also played those great classic games with Houston, right? Those were really good games. The Tigers ran their stuff. Boogie was sort of the point guard, but really more, I think, of being the point guard was Lester Quinones, and sometimes DeAndre Williams played point forward. If you look at Boogie's numbers, I don't think they were great in the NIT. He shot well. So did Jeffries, for that matter. I think you've got to just say it's not working as the starting point guard and figure out who that is, whether that's Quinones or maybe, because I think he's getting better, and I hear in practice he's really coming on, and he's just had all this rust from not playing, and he's finally maybe healthy. I think you got to give Earl Timberlake that opportunity. I just know you got to look at history and say to yourself, wait a second, this is the 4th year. Let's look to see what those numbers are, what the record is. Where does the offense really play best? And it just unless something changes or I'm not seeing something, it sure seems like you've got the book on Lomax. Try something else because it sure didn't work against Iowa State.
It might also not be so much an individual issue as like a product of the way they play too. At least my hypothesis is that you spend so much time scheming. Your scheme is built so much around defense, especially when you press the way they do, and there's only so much practice time, certainly to this point in the year. You spend so much time scheming that, something has to give. You see it with the Knicks. Thibodeau coach teams in the NBA are like this. They don't have as much offensive scheme in place. And when you have younger kids, and I know Lomax isn't a freshman or anything like that, but you have guys that don't have a lot of experience or certainly maybe don't have experience playing point guard and might suffer a little bit. So it could just be something that's just a little more time, gets everybody more involved.
And in defense of Alo, he is the best ball stealer that Memphis has. He is a good on-ball defender, even against guys who are bigger, because he is a really strong guy. I don't think people realize the strength that he has. I'm just saying, don't not play him. Right. He started the second half of the Iowa State game, and that beginning of that second half was not a good segment. I'm not saying don't play him at all. I'm saying I think you got to make a change, and that seems to be the position. And show me a great Final Four team that doesn't have a really solid point guard.
Show me a great Final Four team that turns the ball over 20 times at any point in the year.
There's none. There is absolutely none. We're sitting in the Family Leisure Studios, and I remind you, we got a Christmas sale. Arcades up to 25% off. Air hockey, foosball tables, they start at under $150. Pool tables, shuffleboard tables are in stock, ready for delivery. There's great deals on hot tubs and saunas. Trampolines, I hope they have the netting. That makes more sense to me. I hope they don't get mad at me for saying that, but it does. 20% off. Delivery schedule filling up fast. Please reserve your date so you get it all in before Christmas. And this portion of the show brought to you by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and, of course, the famous buyback. what's the buyback? Well, if you've had a repair bill up to $1,500 and you think your system isn't worth a penny, forget about it. It's worth something because John will give you $1,500 from your repair bill, show him a receipt, to up to that $1,500 to put toward the purchase of brand new, high-tech, state-of-the-art technology. We're talking the Select Carrier Infinity system. They will buy back your repair up to $1,500 even if they didn't do the repair. Show another company's receipt. Or look, if you didn't even have a repair, but your old energy guzzler's getting old, it's costing you a lot of money on your MLGW bill, they'll give you $1,500 in a trade for your old energy guzzler. And you're getting the new technology. So it's basically $1,500 off. If you call 384-3511, Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. We'll put a bow on Week 12. Hard to believe that you can't find a guy to kick an extra point on an NFL football team. We'll talk with Jeff Moore about that in just 1 second.
Hey, this is Anthony Sane. Peter Edmiston and I have moved. Instead of Sports 56 mornings, you can now join us every afternoon from 1 to 3 p.m. for the all-new Sports 56 Grind Time, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
I want to do some bragging rights. Hey, I was just the other day overhearing a conversation with Big Mike, the manager of DeSoto Auto Sales. They've got people buying cars all over the country. North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, Texas. People from all over the country buy cars at DeSoto Auto Sales in Olive Branch, Mississippi. Why? DeSoto Auto Sales has the most stringent car inspection in America. They get it right the first time. Quality and low mileage, factory warranty on most vehicles. My favorite part is the people who work there. Big Mike, all the employees are professional, friendly, and go that extra mile. Expect as you walk in the door, you're treated like family. DeSoto Auto Sales understands your time matters. We can help you find your dream car and get all the paperwork finished in less than an hour. Come see us at DeSoto Auto Sales and be part of our family. Have a great buying experience every time. 662-890-7184.
Hello?
Hello, Mrs. Kuntz. It's the back left tire of your RV calling. Wanted to give you a heads up that I'm going to blow out on the highway later today.
Wait, what?
Says here I'm going to burst in the middle of rush hour.
Well, can we reschedule?
Sorry, our policy states that once we're scheduled to burst, we have to. We really pride ourselves on our commitment to blowouts.
RV owners can't schedule when things go wrong on the road. That's why there's Progressive, a leader in RV insurance.
You want a text confirmation when I burst?
Think I'll notice.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
The Christmas spirit is here at Hewlett & Dunn. Boots, casual boots, work boots, hiking boots, fancy boots, even safety toe boots. Lots of hats to choose from Whiskey Bent to Red Dirt Hat Company. Tremendous Christmas selections just arrived from Outback Trading Company, STS Ranch Wear, good-looking duck head dress shirts, duck head caps and pants. Tons of jeans from Area, Wrangler Devil Dog, and Kimes Ranch jeans. At Hewlett & Dunn, we have a great selection of Old South t-shirts and caps, fine clothing from dress to casual to Sunday best. Enjoy choosing from OFO's orthopedic-approved shoes, boots of every size, every color, every skin. Just arrived from Santa, toy guns for the kids. Hewlett & Dunn, from our family to your family since 1961. Merry Christmas.
Listen Sundays at 11 a.m. to join Idlewild Presbyterian Church for worship. Idlewild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Chris and True, our Tuesday morning is brought to you by Matt Eflin. I saw him yesterday at lunch. It was nice to see Matt. I said, can I do anything differently? He goes, no. Because life is great with the Eflin family. They just had another young child, and Business is good. You know why? Because he takes care of people. He takes care of his family, takes care of people like you. He has a unique approach when it comes to insurance. He sits down and gets to know you and then matches your needs and your budget together and picks out the perfect protection. Whether that is for life insurance, whether that is for auto or home, or if you're a small to mid-sized business insurance too. He's got all kinds of access to different companies to make sure you are fit in the right way and protected completely. It's unique. He also wanted me to let everybody know that, well, he's a good guy. He wanted me to say that, and he is. And the other was that he's a big Tiger guy, and that's why his number is 386-GER. That's 901-386-4777. Get insured, get protected the right way with the Eflin Insurance Team. Last night, will you believe this? The Washington Redskins, if the playoffs started today, they'd be the 7th seed in the NFC. That's hard to believe, Jeff Moore, for a team that doesn't even have the ability to kick an extra point. I mean, that was crazy last night. Tell me why a punter can't kick an extra point, a 20-yard field goal.
Well, punting and field goal kicking is two different skill sets. So, if he's not accustomed to just practicing it on a regular basis, it's a little bit different process. The timing is different. All of it is different, and it's unfortunate that they're having to struggle that way. But they were able to get the win, and they're a physical team. They play with a lot of toughness, and they don't make a lot of mistakes. Their defense is very ferocious, so they're a hardy opponent. For any team that lines up against them, they better be ready to play.
It was interesting because I heard afterwards Ron Rivera was talking about why he didn't try it, because all he's got to do is kick a field goal and the game is over. And they're 4th and goal at the 3. And he said, well, I really wanted to do, and our punter could kick the extra points, but our punter is our holder. And then the other holder was going to try to come in, but he's used to a left-footed kicker because that's what their kicker is. So the circumstances were extraordinary, and it almost cost them the game. It really did. But they did hold on. I'm with you. First of all, I like Ron Rivera, and so their quarterback Taylor Heinicke. Now, I don't think he is considered a top-flight NFL QB, but he wins. He's got this competitive heart. Do you think you can be a playoff team with him as your QB?
Well, they obviously have a good shot at doing it, and he the way that they use him in that offense, he's not going to make a lot of mistakes. They're pretty conservative with their approach. They don't have him throwing the ball all over the yard, so that helps. And when he's not turning the ball over, then that helps his confidence too. So, I think if they continue to use him the right way and complement his passing with the tough running game that they have, I think they'll be fine and they'll be competitive if they make it to the playoffs.
All right, The Athletic just printed some odds from Vegas on who the coach of the year and who the MVP would be. They say, odds-on favorite, Brady, MVP, Belichick, coach of the year for what's happening in New England with the Patriots and the Mac Jones story. And if the playoffs started today, the Ravens would get the bye, but the Patriots would be the number 2 team. That's amazing because they're the division winner at this point. Would you go along with those two bets?
So far, I think Brady has put up, hit some of the best numbers of his career as far as that goes, and I would be comfortable with him as MVP if he continues on that pace. And there's no question, I think the job Coach Belichick has done with this team has been outstanding, especially with a rookie quarterback and a very ferocious defense. They don't make mistakes offensively, defensively. I'm good with both of those choices so far.
Okay. Now, I have to ask you this, and I've never asked you this before. I always talk about you being a former Vol and a former Ram. Are the Rams your team? Is that the one that you cheer for the most?
No, I'm one of those guys that doesn't really have a particular team that I cheer for. just about every team has players that I like and kind of pull for. So, I just like to see good competitive game, great catches, good tackles, good football all the way around. And I really don't have a favorite team.
Okay, so I'll preface this then in a different way. I won't say it's your Rams. I'll say that I picked the Rams to be in the Super Bowl. And now I have my doubts. I know their coach is now all of a sudden getting, after he was the darling of the NFL for a couple of years, he's now being sort of chastised as maybe being overrated. What's wrong with the Rams?
I'm really not sure. I mean, with the talent that they have, they seem to be so inconsistent. Now I will say this, and that was notable in the game since OBJ has been there. Matt Stafford has missed a lot of throws that he should have made, and his up and down play has hurt them in some instances. He's been fantastic in some instances. So they're a team with a lot of parts that just haven't come together and played as consistent, or I guess as effectively as they possibly can. And, if he can keep that locker room together, I think they've got the ingredients to really make a run. But when you lose 3 games in a row like that, you start to question some things. So it's going to be interesting to see if they're able to kind of right their ship and start to play winning football, because three losses in a row is tough for a team's psyche.
I'm with you. I'm not. I should have known about Stafford, because even though he put up nice numbers and everything, never won at Detroit. And now that you're expected to win, I don't know. I know that division is crazy, though, because if you look at it today, the Cardinals would be the best in the NFC. They have the best record. Then you've got both the Rams and the Niners in the mix as the 5 and 6 seeds.
Right.
So that division is going to continue to just beat each other up. And I know that the Seattle Seahawks only have 3 wins so far this year, which is just hard to fathom. And they're not going to make the playoffs, but they're going to play spoiler, right?
They are. They will. They're going to be a tough out because they place each other so well in division. But they have a lot of issues that they've got to work through, and it's going to be a challenge for them to just stay together the rest of the season.
I would have to think, I guess the Patriots probably the best story. The Ravens are the 1 seed. Buffalo has struggled. Now they're the 6 seed. We already mentioned sort of Belichick as the coach of the year, and we're both kind of in agreement there. That's got to be the story of the year, right? Because this has come out of nowhere, and Mac Jones certainly has been unreal.
And Mac Jones continues to get better every week. He's just a heady player that doesn't make mistakes. But, I think it's the greatest story. It's the best story so far because, everybody, I at least, had Buffalo up there with the Titans and possibly the Ravens and, of course, the Chiefs as we started the season out. The Chiefs have been up and down. They seem to maybe have righted their ship. We'll see. But the Titans, of course, have taken a few steps backwards, and we're just going to have to see what happens with them. So the Patriots are the best story so far. And then, of course, one of the big disappointments is the way Pittsburgh appears to just have been having to yield to the Bengals as being a big brother in that division now.
Yeah, no, that's you're right. That's a great story. Burrow and Mixon, outstanding for sure. As always, Jeff, thank you. We got Week 13 coming up, and it starts on Thursday with the Cowboys and the Saints in New Orleans. Looking forward to that, and looking forward to chatting with you next Tuesday.
Look forward to it. Take care.
Thank you. That is our man, our former Ram, former Vol. That is Jeff Moore. He's brought to you by the Old Dominick Distillery, proud partner of your Tigers, a proud part of Memphis, going all the way back years ago to founder Domenico Canali. And if you'd like to know a little bit more about the history of Old Dominick, just go downtown. They got tours right there in the heart of downtown at 305 South Front Street. You get a close-up view of the extensive, and we'll call it grain to glass. That's the craft of distilling these wonderful spirits, and they got a whole portfolio of Old Dominick spirits, and you get to try some of them as part of this 45-minute sensory journey they call a tour. And by the way, if you're looking for something late at night, downtown, want to try something new, and you really want to try, let's say, a perfect old-fashioned mixed by mixologists, go to the bar at Old Dominick. It's cool. It's elegant but not stuffy. You'll really like it. You can find out bar hours at olddominick.com. You can also find out tour availability. Same website, olddominick.com. Part of Memphis, a really unique, cool place. Go check it out at 305 South Front Street. We take a break. When we come back, the Hall of Famer from the Sporting News, Mike DeCourcy, joins us in just a minute.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ. Listen to us daily on 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world at sports56whbq.com or on the Sports 56 app.
The Black Friday sales event is going strong at Gossett Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Fiat on the Pike. Take your pick, 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo 4x2 or 2021 Jeep Wrangler Sport, your choice. $549 a month, and they're not leases, you own them. 2021 Chrysler 300 Touring, $31,945 or $469 a month. And hit the road hard in 2021 Dodge Charger, $32,565 or $478 a month. Plus top dollar for your trade at Gossett Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Fiat. So if you're looking for our best deal, drive past the rest and come to the best during the Black Friday sales event or shop online, GossettMotorCars.net.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motorcars.
All 75 months at 3.99 APR, $3,500 down payment. Must finance through Chrysler Cherokee MC 814-357, MSRP $39,900, Wrangler MW 791,095, MSRP $39,045, Charger XST MH 66,088.7, MSRP $34,065. Includes all rebates and incentives. PF 695 excludes tax, title, and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through the end of the month. Dealer stock only.
I'm Sheldon Rosengarten, and I'm with you, Mallory, and we're both with Mark's Bensdorf Realtors. Well, a lot of people think about buying or selling a home being as much fun as having root canal. We can tell you that if you go about it the right way, it's like winning the lottery.
That's right, Sheldon. If you prepare prior to your home search or home sale, which includes using us as your agents, you'll feel like you've accomplished every objective you set out to attain, and you've won the lottery.
If you value experience and knowledge and rely upon those that can guide you to a successful conclusion, there's no better call to make than to us. Even after talking to 2 to 3 other real estate brokers, most people come back to us because their friends have told them that when you want the job done, call Sheldon.
Or Mallory Moves Memphis in whatever part of town you're in.
Call or email me at 483-0546 or memphisrelocate.com.
Or you can reach me, Hugh Mallory, at 497-9756.
That's Sheldon Rosengarten at memphisrelocate.com or 483-0546. Do it now so you can win the lottery.
Barks now offers you just about everything you need for your furry family member. Daycare, luxury boarding, award-winning grooming, veterinary checkups, diagnostic services including digital x-ray, fluoroscopy and ultrasound, complete dental service, vaccinations, preventative care for fleas, ticks, and heartworms, and just about any needed surgical treatment. And did I mention that we treat cats and all types of exotic pets? We are the newest member of the Barks family and the newest, most high-tech veterinary hospital in the Mid-South. Located directly across the street from Barks and Recreation, we are a full-service hospital with a fantastic, experienced staff. If you're having problems getting a timely appointment at your current vet's facility, we are here to serve you. Call us at 901-979-8888. Barks and Medication. Excellence in veterinary care.
They say this game can take you far. Your moves can take you further. Make moves that start movements.
Hennessy, spirit of the Memphis Grizzlies.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Homer Skelton, Genesis of Olive Branch. Good folks like Chris True over at the very first exit, Mississippi, off Highway 78, Craft Road. Go see how they've set the bar. But the way car business should be done. They wish you all very, very happy holidays. In the meantime, we get to chat with the Hall of Famer from the Sporting News, Mike DeCourcy. I got so much to talk with you about. Mike, I want to start with this, though. Cody Toppert was just on with Greg and Eli about an hour ago. And he was talking about what they might be able to do with John Camden. And John Camden has an issue with his foot, and he's a young, really good three-point shooter that is a true freshman. And so he's played in one game for about 1 minute and 15 seconds. In football, you can play 4 games and get a red shirt. In basketball, you play 1 second, you've used up your red shirt. What happened? I don't get that.
Not if it's an injury situation.
Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can't play a game and then say, oh, I'm not good enough, or I want to take a year and get better or whatever. But if you've got a legitimate injury situation, then in that circumstance, it's called. Yeah, they've changed the designation. They call it a medical hardship now.
Okay.
But it's still the same thing. It's an old medical red shirt. If you miss a year because you tore your ACL or broke your foot or whatever, had a labrum tear in your shoulder, whatever it might be, you don't lose that year. But you can't play. I think you can only play 9 games. I think it is. If you play the 10th game, then you're out. If you can't play, and you can't play the 1 game now and then come back and play 3 in February.
Right.
And say, it's pretty much, it has to be the injury that says why you can't play. So if at this point he were not able to continue, he wouldn't have any problem recovering that year of eligibility.
Excellent. All right. Off of basketball for just 1 second, and I want to get into the drop. But I know, I think it was like 18 days ago, you wrote a story, and you talked with us about this, about Cincinnati and the way the system is built, and I don't argue with you about that. But you got to say now, if Cincinnati, your old stomping grounds, if the Bearcats win against Houston on Saturday, they're in, right? No system is going to stop that now.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, but I'm more confident now than I was before. If let's just say they won 21-20 or something, and Alabama only lost by, let's say they lost 21-20, and Oklahoma State blew out Baylor, let's say. Now, I'm not going to rule out the possibility that they could do something. I'm just not. Until I see it, I'm just not. The circumstances have made it more difficult for them to exclude Cincinnati, but they don't think they're done trying.
Well, you know what? I hate to say, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think if Cincy wins, and Houston's good, but I think Cincy's better. Yeah. But they're 16th in their own college football playoff ranking, so they got to take that into account. I think it'd really be hard for them not to make it if Cincy wins, but I have the same skepticism because they just. They don't want the underdog in this playoff scenario, at least with 4 teams. I'm with you there all the way. Did you ever think you'd see a day where a guy would leave Notre Dame for a different job?
Yeah, I will say this. I had a one-on-one with Brian Kelly back in September when he was on the verge of breaking Knute Rockne's record at Notre Dame. And if you look back at the history of Notre Dame, now Coach Rockne is a different circumstance. He tragically died in a plane crash. And although he was a very versatile person and might have decided that he'd coached enough football and then gone into politics or business or whatever.
Right.
But he coached, I think, 11 years, I think it was. Basically, until Brian came along, nobody beat that. I mean, I think Brian has the longest tenure in Notre Dame history.
I think that's right.
I talked to a few people for the article I wrote about Brian, and I talked to him as well. And I think you could. I have to go back and look at, but I remember the look on his face. I mean, you could tell there's a lot that goes into being head coach at Notre Dame, and so to get out away from that, I mean, it's not like there's less pressure at Louisiana State. It's a pretty high pressure environment there, but at least it'd be different. And the fact that they're going to pay him this ridiculous amount of money, and the fact that it's a chance to to breathe a little bit away from the pressure of being the Notre Dame coach. I'm not surprised. I thought when I talked to him that it wouldn't shock me if he weren't coached there next year. I just didn't know what exact avenue it would take, and I didn't know that somebody would offer him $15 million. If somebody had said then, do you think if Brian Kelly's offered at the end of the year $15 million to go coach at a program that's a national power, he'll do it? I'd have said, heck yes, absolutely.
Well, two thoughts. Two ex-coaches that I know, Lou Holtz and Digger Phelps, that they love Notre Dame so much that their cards in retirement, and they're longtime retired, say coach of Notre Dame, and they both stayed living in South Bend, at least last time I looked. So there is a pride of that obviously Brian Kelly was bought away from. And the other is, if we think about the great Notre Dame coaches, you would think Knute Rockne, Ara Parseghian, probably Frank Leahy, probably Lou Holtz in there. They pretty much all won national titles except him, right? Is that fair?
Yeah, it's different now. Notre Dame has academic standards. They probably overemphasize the challenge of their academic standards, in terms of, helping to shine the image. But they still are. They are more stringent, and it's different as well because of the nature of the playoff. But the fact that they got into that thing twice and played in the BCS title game once, I think in the modern era that's a pretty solid performance by Brian Kelly. And of course they're this close now, and they lost to Cincinnati back in September or early October,
at home,
or they'd be in it again.
Yeah.
But obviously Cincinnati earned that. They won that game pretty comfortably.
Yeah, they can't put them in over Cincinnati. They beat them there, and they dominated that game in South Bend. I'm with you. Okay, the Tigers lose, and they look bad at the Barclays in Brooklyn. I don't dispute that. But Tennessee loses, actually went up 2 spots in the poll. Kansas loses, went down 4 spots in the poll? Something like that. Memphis loses, and it was bad. I'm not saying it wasn't. They fall 10 spots from 9 to 19. Explain that one to me.
I don't pay attention to the polls at all. I hate them. I have refused to vote. I've turned it down a few times. So I did it once I did it for a period of time once in the early 90s.
Yeah.
I think I did maybe the 89-90 and 90-91 season, something like that. I hate those things. So I'm not. What I'm going to say is it doesn't matter. What matters is you got to get an offense. You got to get an offense that flows. You got to get an offense that gets Landers Nolly good shots. You got to get an offense that gets Jalen Duren the ball underneath the basket in dangerous positions. You got to get Amani Bates to understand that it's not about him. I mean, it's been about him his whole career. So I get it. And I'm not saying he's being selfish, but I don't think he sees the game through the prism of 5. I think he sees it through his own eyes, and that's a problem. That's not a problem for a guy who's 17 or 18 years old to have to learn how to play, but you have to get that process accelerated because you're relying on him greatly. And I do think that the offensive approach is just much too haphazard, and I think it starts with expecting Bates to be either the facilitator or a facilitator. If he's going to be a facilitator, it should not be from the backcourt. It should be from the perimeter. He should not be touching the ball except in press break situations before it crosses the midcourt line. I think that creates problems that they don't need to have.
Settling on a point guard, and I think different from Alo, because just look at the history of Alo the last few years. I'm not saying he shouldn't play at all, but maybe it's Timberlake, or maybe you move Quinones. I'm with you. I think everything you just said is on the money. Remind me next week. You wrote this piece on ACL and new medical technology. We got to get into that, okay?
Absolutely. I can get you the guy too if you want to talk to him. He's very eager to talk, and I can get you hooked up with him.
All right, I might do that. Thank you so much, and I hope you had a great Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. Look forward to it, Dave.
That is the Hall of Famer. That is Mike DeCourcy. Brought to you by Ken Garland. Ken Garland Custom Home Builders, whether it's your dream home or whether it's renovation with innovation. He takes all the modern amenities, puts it into your old palace. And I mean, he does a great job. Well, he and his dad have been doing it around Memphis for over 50 years now. And if you're looking for land, they've got it. If you've got land, you're not sure what to do with it, he knows exactly what to do because of all that experience. 751-1632. Give him a call. Chat with him. Believe me, he sees little details and big picture all at once. He's a rare guy. You will love him. Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. Go to kengarland.com. Thanks to Jeff Moore. Thanks to Mike DeCourcy. We do it again tomorrow.
The Christmas sale is happening now at